Hey y'all, this is Fat Vandal. This is the beginning of my saga to attempt to fix a problem where after a cycle on this Kinetico Overdrive water softener that's about 3 to 4 years old, it continues to drip water and drains it into the drain behind my washer, and continues to run and drip, which then kicks on my my well and all that good stuff. And I got tired of paying the $90 for someone to come out and either replace parts or simply clean a valve inside here. So I'm going to attempt to go into this level 1 area. There's not a lot of documentation out on YouTube, so I want to try to do this myself as I go along. It'll probably be a disaster, but I'm going to give it a shot. And so just a shout out to Vandal Nation. And I just want to let all those snowflakes out there in this millennial that you can do this on your own. And I know you struggle with changing light bulbs, but you can do this. It's time for the country to man up. All right, here's the deal. I took the top off of this thing. I basically had to make sure I drained all my lines and put this on off for the water flow. And what I did was I disconnected the inlet and the outlet from the head, and then I got myself a pole, an extension type pole, and I stuck it underneath the copper pipe for a support, because once the head is off and we're disconnected, there's a lot of weight coming down. So I braced that, put a zip tie on there to hold it all. And so what I'm going to do now is I've got the head off, and I'm going to let this main part sit. As you can see, I've taken the hoses off. There's three drain hoses, and I've taken those off. These are the clips for disconnecting the inlet and outlet. Best thing to do with that is take a screwdriver and pry this part up, and then take a pair of pliers and hold right here and pull out when you have these disconnected, and it comes out fairly easily when you do that. All right, I'm going to turn to the head and completely cause a disaster trying to take this thing apart. We'll see how it goes. Get her done. All right, so this is the head that I'm going to be looking into. I'm going to be using terms like this little thing here and this doohickey because I haven't a clue what they're called. I'm a computer programmer and not a Kinetico service technician. I put this on split 2x4s because underneath here there are two rubber they're little valves, I think, that open and close, and I wanted those to not get damaged. And so right now they're sticking out. You can see them sticking out there. And so I actually cleaned one of them. One had a little bit of muck on them. I don't know if that's part of the issue, but anyway, I want to lay in between the 2x4s so they don't get damaged, and we'll go from there. Okay, so we're going to take this top off, and I don't know if that's what they call level 1, but it comes out. I had already taken the screws out, and they're big long screws there. And then all the gearing for the controls is under here. This looks clean. There's a little filter in there, but it looks clean. And I'm going to lay this upside down, and then you'll notice this is a gasket, a rubber gasket, and it kind of stuck halfway on the top, halfway on the bottom. taking it off. And so when it goes back on, I may reverse it and put it on the top because of some grooves. I'm not sure yet. And then this middle part does come off, and it has, I won't flip it over, but it does have a built-in set of rubber gasket that basically maps this out here, and that's for all the little pinholes and for the water flow. And then now down here, I don't know if that's what they call level 2, because it seems there might be one more section to come apart, and I'll try that and then get back on and we'll get her done. All right, so the answer is yes. These two pieces do come apart, but they don't come completely apart because of these two rubber valves, but they do come apart, and there is another gasket in there. Just looking at it, I mean, I don't see any issues in there. My guess is this probably comes apart as well, but I don't know. I think the issue is this little valves just had blue corrosion on the side. The one was clean, the other one had the corrosion, had the buildup. My guess is one is inlet and one is outlet, and so I cleaned it off, and I think that's what probably is my issue, because I was getting bypass. So I was able to get the bottom completely separated to where these, it felt like these valves were had a hard stop, but they're basically just little piston looking things here that fit up in these holes here. And so just by applying a little bit of pressure, I think there might be an O-ring in there, I was able to slide this out. And so now I've just been inspecting this this section here, and again, I don't see a lot of corrosion. It looks pretty clean. So I'm just gonna give it a once over. So basically have this whole thing in 3 sections. You see the very top right here, turned over, just the edge of it, and then the bottom part is in 2 pieces. And I'm going to just look at it and see how it's doing. So I've reattached the bottom, the very bottom of this level 2 to the next level up. I had to hold my fingers on these little valves and push them down, and then bring the top down and slide them into the little cylinders that they go into. And so now they're back to where they were before. I'm not going to take apart. I think this little piece right here actually comes apart. I'm not going to take that apart unless I have to. And so there's one more piece. I said it broke up into 3 pieces. It was really 4 pieces. I forgot to mention this small piece that I originally separated from the head, and so that's got the blue bottom on it, or the blue gaskets that basically trace this racetrack here. And I'm going to go ahead and put this down, and it sits like that. And then the top's going to go on that. I'm going to do a little bit of one more check of this thin piece before I lay it back down and make sure it's clean. As I mentioned earlier, I actually took the rubber gasket that had stuck to this center section, and I flipped it over and actually reattached it to the head portion because there are grooves, and that allows me to set that down in there. And then I'm going to end up flipping the middle section upside down on top of the top section to reattach it. And then I'm going to get an acetylene welder, somewhere around a 220 to 221 volt, and I'm going to weld me a piece of angle iron 3 inches long, 5 inches thick, and about 2,100 feet long, and use that to as a ramrod to ram all this stuff back together. All right, so I've cut my huge chunk of steel out, and so now I'm getting ready to put the top back on. And so I'm just going to flip the center section over onto the top and reattach it that way, like that. And then if I flip it over, now I'm back to where I started. So really the only thing I did is just clean the bottom valves off and check everything, and I didn't get into that very last piece. Hopefully this will work. If it doesn't, I'll say go, and either get me another one from Costco and do away with this Kinetico. This is my second Kinetico soft water system, and I've been in the house for 17 years. And really, I have a 18 parts per million hard water out of a well. But really, between the first one and the second one, it just seems like I've had just ongoing issues with the whole bypass part of it, and so I'm getting tired of it. So so basically I hooked everything back up, put the head back on, hooked all the hoses back up, and currently am running a cycle. I manually cycled it, so it's doing the backwash right now. Yeah, the good news is I only ended up with maybe 6 extra parts that I wasn't quite sure where it went. So really, I'd like to thank my sponsors, Binford Series 7000 tool set. I'd like to thank STP Oil for the oil I dumped into the middle of it just because it seemed like it needed oil. I'd like to thank Cuisinart just for their blenders. And then Moxie Java Coffee. I had 53 coffees during this project. I started this project in the spring, around the March time frame, and well, March 3 years ago, and just now getting it fixed. And you know, I'm going to find out here in about an hour whether it worked. I'd also like to thank long list. I'd like to thank the Levi Strauss company. I went through 4 pair of jeans during this project. 1 pair was completely blown off of me when I had a pressure surge, and Levi Strauss company replaced it all. It's fantastic. So God bless America. Hope you snowflakes enjoyed this project. Go ahead and try it on your own, and quit being such a bunch of wimps, you millennials. Unbelievable.